All right, here we go. More P theorem, but this time we're solving for a missing side. So what's important is if you're given two legs, you have to solve for the hypotenuse. So if you've got a right triangle and you are given two side lengths and you're missing one, then you're going to do leg squared, this is in Desmos, plus leg squared, go to your next line and take the square root of ANS, and it'll pull the answer in there and give you the length of the hypotenuse. Again, here, if you had a right triangle and it gave you a hypotenuse and a leg, then you solve for the missing leg by doing hypotenuse squared minus leg squared, going to the next line in your calculator and clicking on square root of the answer. So let me show you a couple of examples. An observer is watching a bird from the ground. What's the bird distance from the ground? So you're looking for this question mark right here. So this is across from the right angle. So I know I have my hypotenuse and I know I have my leg. And it says round to the nearest tenth. So we'll remember to do that. So when I have a hypotenuse and a leg, I take hypotenuse squared and then I subtract the leg squared, and that gives me 2.17, but I've got to remember to take the square root and then click on ANS, and then that gives me the missing side length of 1, we're rounding to the nearest tenth, 0.5, because 7 pushes that 4. So 1.5 miles would be your missing side there. When you're given a hypotenuse and a leg, you have to subtract then a square root. Now, in this case, they want GH, which is the hypotenuse. So I've been given two legs. So I'm going to come over to my calculator, and I'm going to do a leg squared, 6.3 squared, and add the other leg squared, 7.2 squared. Go to my next line. Take the square root. You can also type ANS and it'll pull it in for you. So that means your hypotenuse is, if we want to round to the nearest whole number, it would be 10. But if we wanted to round to the nearest tenth, it would be 9.6. So it depends on what answers you're given or what they tell you to round to. Okay? And let's see if we have another one to practice. We do. It says a 7-foot ladder is leaning up against a building. First of all, anytime you're doing a word problem and they're talking about a right triangle, this is the triangle you use. They're all the same. And a ladder will always be the leaning side. It says the foot of the ladder is 2 feet away from the base. Well, the base is down at the bottom, so this is 2. So it wants to know how far up the wall is the top of the ladder. So the first thing you have to identify there is you're looking for a leg. You have a hypotenuse and a leg. So let's start with hypotenuse squared minus leg squared. Go to my next line and take the square root of my answer. So that means that it's going to go up that wall for 6.7 feet. This would be my answer here. Okay, let's see if we've got another word problem. We have one with a diagram, but it wants to know the diagonal length. Do you see that? Well, I'm going to go ahead and draw my right triangle right there. Always look for a right triangle. They're in the picture somewhere. And if this guy is 21, that means this guy is also 21. So I have a leg, and I'm looking for my hypotenuse. So again, when I've got two legs, I take 28 squared, leg squared, and then I add the other leg squared, 21 squared. Go to my next line, take the square root of my answer, and that means my hypotenuse, or in this case, the size of the TV, is 35 inches. That diagonal is 35 inches. Let's see if I've got another one. I do. It says Maria's garden is shaped like a rectangle. That's interesting. So let's draw a rectangle. Okay. It says the sides are 8 and 11. So I'm going to make this one 8 and this one 11, since that's how I drew it. if she were to put up a fence along the diagonal, so here's my diagonal, guys. Not a very good one, but there it is. To the nearest foot, how long would it be? So we're looking for the diagonal. Whenever they say the word diagonal, or you're looking for a diagonal, that means you are looking for the hypotenuse. So again, that means I've got two legs that have been given to me. So I'm going to do 8 squared plus 11 squared. And I'm going to take the square root of my answer. And that means my diagonal is going to be to the nearest foot, it said. So 13.6 would be to the nearest foot would round to 14 feet. That's how long my fence would be along the diagonal. All right? Great job, guys. I know you can do this.